A San Antonio man unveils his pet project, a stealth fighter jet that countries are lining up for.
And mourners bury their dead. Miners killed in yesterday's devastating mine accident.
These stories and a lot more coming up next on News 4 at 10:30.
There's really just one place for me.
That one place is Texas, where Ford Ranger and Ford Bronco 2 are two of Texas' best-selling trucks. And right now is a great time to buy and save on a new '88 Ford truck. Get quality and value like this in a 2- or 4-wheel drive Ranger or Bronco 2. That's why your Ford dealers are winning Texas over.
When only the best will do. Texas Ford and you. Texas Ford and you.
This new car is about to take its first journey. All too soon, deposit buildup in the intake system can begin. To help keep new car performance, we suggest Gulf Super Unleaded with Techrally. No other premium cleans entire intake systems better. Gulf Super Unleaded for new car performance. Unlock the power.
Mom, look, my new swimsuit. It's been in my car for a week. Jen?
Smells like it died.
Oh, Mom.
Where's your one piece?
This makes me look more mature. Jen.
Okay. Not even Tide will get that smell out. Empty. New clothesline fresh Tide. Maybe.
Power out some of your toughest set-in dirt and odors with new Clothesline Fresh Tide.
Cool, Mom, thanks.
Smells like they were dried outside, huh?
If it's gotta be clean, it's gotta be Tide.
San Antonio's favorite on Ford.
From the hill country to the Rio Grande, live from the heart of Texas, this is News 4 San Antonio at 10.
It is a day of tragedy as survivors of the men killed in a fiery mine accident in Mexico bury their dead. 33 men were killed. 10 more are still trapped inside a mine shaft that turned into a deadly inferno after being rocked by an explosion.
But it's also a day of triumph as a San Antonio man realizes his 22-year effort unveiling a high-tech jet that may have far-reaching effects all around the world. Good evening, I'm Alan Hemberger.
And I'm Lori Tucker. You may have heard of the stealth fighter. It is a jet fighter that cannot be seen on radar. The Air Force is believed to have a plane that is largely invisible to radar, though. The Air Force has never acknowledged its existence. It is top secret. Yet tonight, in an exclusive focus report, Dan Locke will show you what the Pentagon hasn't seen. The first privately built stealth fighter, a homegrown stealth built by a Texas entrepreneur named George Hamilton.
He started in 1966 with a firm belief that the jet fighter of the future would be made entirely of plastic. For George Hamilton, the future is today. This is the HX-1.
I've always wanted to build fighters. It's the epitome of flight.
This one also took 22 years of his life. It's his wife, his mistress, and a good deal of his money. And because it's plastic, it came with no directions and very little technology. He had to create it from scratch, or rather from resin and carbon fibers and things that he says he cannot talk about.
And I've got a tremendous boneyard of trial and error, and that's what it got down to. We would build a wing and break it, find out where it broke, how did it break, what could we do to preserve it, and at what forces did it break at. And then you turn this wing upside down and do it on the negative side of things.
11 years after he started, he knew it could be done. He went to the Pentagon with the news.
The reception was okay, great, we think this is wonderful, you're going to do this.
So they kind of brushed you off?
Yeah, more or less, yes. We'll just have to see how history treats this. But we've proven our technology, we've flown airplanes, and in 1988 we'll start deploying to foreign countries if necessary.
This is the F-20. Northrop spent $750 million building it, and it's one of the most advanced fighters in the world. But it wasn't the Navy's project, and it wasn't the Air Force's project, and they wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
And if the Pentagon doesn't buy his plane, he says that's fine.
There is so much of a market out there of people that want advanced technology airplanes that can't afford $30 million fighters.
Who would you sell to?
I would sell to nations that are pro-U.S.
The question is, can the U.S. afford to let this plane out of the country? Because on radar, the HX-1 disappeared. George Hamilton didn't set out to build a plane that radar couldn't see. But as years passed and technology advanced, it became possible.
The shape of all your systems are very critical as far as radar reflection goes.
All right, so that's the reason that all of this is kind of curved.
Exactly. You don't want any extremely sharp points underneath, projections and so forth. You want rounded edges where everything flows.
The worst thing in the world is a flat metal surface. And on this plane, Hamilton says there is no metal and nothing is flat. The end result, he says, is that before you'd know it, this plane and maybe 9 others just like it would be on your tail. Where did the other 9 come from? The price, $3 million. $3 million won't buy one wing of an F-14. It's a $30 million plane.
You're confident that it'll do what you want?
You bet.
I would think people would be lining up.
They are.
What kind of people are lining up? The Pentagon hasn't lined up yet.
Well, sometimes to get to point B, you have to go to point Z.
In other words, if Hamilton was ready to begin mass producing them for, say, Pakistan, maybe the Pentagon would change its mind. He may begin to get an idea about that tomorrow when he goes back to the Pentagon. Dan Locke, News 4, Focus.
Dan will be staying in touch with George Hamilton as he begins to market his HX-1.
Well, first they were rocked by an explosion. Now they are shuddering with grief. Today, the people of Esperanza started burying their dead. 33 men were killed in yesterday's mine accident, and not much hope remains tonight for 10 men still trapped inside that mine. Our Hendrik Sybrandy was in Mexico. He has more on the disaster.
A whole region of northern Mexico is now in mourning. They're digging new graves in the mining town of Rosita. Even as one victim of Monday morning's mine explosion was being buried, they were making room for several more. Most all the men in 3 dusty, poor communities here work in the coal mines. So everyone feels the hurt. Everyone feels the sorrow. Any hope that there's anybody alive still down there? No. It took more than a day for rescuers to pull first live mine workers and then the bodies of the dead from the mine shaft. Identification took time. Official word from authorities came very slowly. The clampdown on information didn't stop bits of news and rumor from filtering out of the mine and onto the local radio stations this morning. One lady called in and said, "The whole town weeps. Why won't they tell us something?" Now everyone here knows. A handful of miners have serious burns. More funerals are scheduled. And the poor will keep earning $4 a day at the mines and hoping, as this man says, that accidents like this one don't happen again. Hendrik Sybrandy, News 4, San Antonio.
Meanwhile, here in San Antonio, anxious times for relatives of 4 men who may have been working in that mine at the time of the explosion. They waited all day for definite word. And tonight we're happy to say that Adriana and Conchita Garcia received the word that their 4 relatives, were not in the mine at the time of the disaster. There may be great grief in Mexico tonight, but at least there is some relief in San Antonio tonight.
An afternoon of fun in an ultralight aircraft proved fatal to a San Antonio pilot this afternoon. The small plane crashed into the brush at the edge of Horizon Airfield shortly after 5:30. Witnesses say the craft had been circling the airfield when suddenly it nosed up slightly, then plunged straight to the ground. William Dorsey Smith, the pilot, was dead by the time the ambulance arrived. Regulars at the airfield say Smith was an expert pilot, and no one can explain what caused this crash. A convicted murderer is still on the loose tonight after walking out of the Bexar County Courthouse yesterday during a break in his trial. An all-points bulletin has been placed for 22-year-old Pernell Dale Bratcher, who has seen here prior to his disappearance. Now, a jury yesterday found him guilty in absentia for the killing of Deborah Sue Cotton, an estranged girlfriend. And today, again in absentia, the jury sentenced him to life in prison after deliberating for 1 hour. Bratcher was last seen sitting on a bench near the courtroom when he disappeared around the noon hour. He was not in custody at the time.
Arson investigators still have no suspects in an unsuccessful bombing of a Northside business. What investigators describe as a homemade bomb was found at the Texas Locke and Company early this morning. It was described as being a glass coffee jar filled with kerosene with a makeshift fuse to a metal lid, a Molotov cocktail, in other words. It did not go off, and the only damage to the building was a broken glass window. A spokesman for the company says it just doesn't know of anyone who would want to retaliate against the company and suspects the act was a work of kids out for a night of mischief. San Antonio man has now been released on bond tonight after the sheriff's office, sheriff deputies arrested him earlier today for having what they called a marijuana farm. Investigators say 28-year-old Patrick Tejarina was growing marijuana in a large garage at 1900 West Gramercy. They say the operation included an elaborate irrigation system, complete with heating and high-intensity lights. About 25 pounds of marijuana was confiscated, a lot of it already, as you see, in plastic bags, allegedly for distribution. Now, half an ounce of cocaine also found today, along with a couple of pistols and $900 in cash.
More than 3,000 people gathered today at a church in Dallas to say goodbye to a local police officer. Fellow officers attended the service with their badges masked in black to remember how 25-year-old John Chase was killed. Chase was gunned down Saturday by a deranged homeless man who moments later was killed by officers arriving on the scene. Chase's funeral will be held Thursday in Des Moines, Iowa, his hometown. The state of Texas has a prison emergency tonight, so declared by Governor Bill Clements at the urging of the State Prison Board. This emergency means that 2 maximum security prisons could soon be built in Gatesville and in Amarillo. But the Attorney General may still have the last word on that. His office must still approve the funding. So far, it has only approved the bonds to fund 1 new prison.
Coming up here tonight, more shuttle problems have NASA officials very upset.
And the last of former Governor John Connolly's belongings go on the auction block.
Come drive a Mazda. The all-new Mazda 929 sedan. A unique combination of high performance and world-class luxury. It's roomy, quiet, sumptuously appointed, solid riding, and quick. With an 18-valve V6 engine. Mazda 929. For luxury and high performance, drive one.
Come drive a Mazda. See your big 3 San Antonio Metro Mazda dealers. Tom Benson, Benson Ingram Park, and Red McCombs Mazda.
It's our Taco Sunday Wheels and Deals Super Celebration at Taco Bell. Enjoy a delicious taco for just 59 cents.
And you could win this 1988 Chevy Camaro.
Stowers Furniture invites you to the 3rd annual Thomasville Gallery Sale. Enjoy over 30 wonderfully designed room settings, plus savings of 30 to 50% on Thomasville. And by seeing what looks best in our gallery, you'll be able to create the right look that's perfect for your home and within your budget. Come to the 3rd anniversary of the Thomasville Gallery and experience a better way to shop for fine furniture. Stowers Furniture, 210 West Rector, opposite North Star Mall.
Before signing a contract for any type of home improvement, call Homeowner Referral Service at 826-1700. Homeowner Referral Service will help you make the right choice by referring companies who are licensed and insured, have a history of satisfied customers, specialize in their own particular field, and provide their services at a fair price. Calling Homeowner Referral Service costs you nothing. It's absolutely free. So before you sign a contract, call Homeowner Referral Service, 826-1700.
People today were talking about last night's Dan Rather-George Bush confrontation like it had been a heavyweight fight. Even the vice president today likened it to combat. Bush was invited to be interviewed live on the CBS Evening News, part of a series of candidate profiles it was doing. The vice president became upset when the focus of the interview stayed on his role in the Iran-Contra affair. And some verbal haymakers were thrown from both sides.
It's not fair to judge my whole career by a rehash on Iran. How would you like it if I judge your career by those 7 minutes when you walked off the set in New York?
Now, today, the Bush campaign said the combative nature of the interview actually helped its candidate. CBS affiliates around the country flooded with phone calls, most of them critical of the way Rather handled the interview.
President Reagan today has been busy selling his Contra aid package to lawmakers. Reagan apparently wants most of the money to go toward non-lethal supplies like food and clothing. House Republican leader Robert Mickle says the Reagan plan calls for $36 million in aid, and he says Reagan wants $3.5 million of that set aside for lethal aid, arms, and ammunition. Former Secretary of Defense Caspar Weinberger says a dangerous attitude of politics as usual exists in Congress today. Weinberger, speaking to the policymakers breakfast at Trinity University here today, said Congress could end up making cuts in defense spending rather than having to face cutting back more popular domestic programs. But Weinberger says the country needs to continue defense programs like Star Wars. Weinberger did admit, however, that President Reagan's arms control talks with the Soviets have done a lot to ease tensions between the two countries.
Shuttle program continues to be plagued by troubles. Today, engineers looking for cracks in the shuttle booster rocket found bad welds on a key seal. A NASA spokesman says it isn't known yet if the latest glitch will force yet another delay in resuming shuttle flights. Finally, there's a way for AIDS victims to relieve the symptoms of pneumocystis pneumonia. It is a combination of an old drug along with a new way of administering it. This machine uses a medicine that forces the medicine, I should say, deep into the lungs of the patients to kill the parasite which causes pneumonia. Now, the method is not yet approved by the FDA. Treatments cost about $200 or $300 a session, but for the acutely ill, it seems the best way to beat the problem.
Boy, get out those heavy blankets. It's going to be another cold one. John Willing has the forecast.
And a flood of phone calls has SeaWorld ending their job hunt early.
We're busting into 88 during Best Shot Waterbeds 188-hour sale. New 88 inventory has been reduced. Complete beds start at only $88.88. Score big on this hard side, soft side, or four-poster, each only $288. Best Shot Waterbeds won't be undersold in 88 because our prices are lean and mean.
For the best rest of your life, give it your best shot.
The Cartel is beauty. The Cartel is style. The Cartel is affordable. The Cartel.
On the next Benson, the governor has a double.
Well, Colonel, it's your command.
The double has a temper.
Get rid of Krause!
And Benson's got a plan.
Ask Collins to come in and play along with me. I would like you to play along with Benson.
Benson, Tuesday night at 11:30 on Channel 4.
The heartbeat lives on, America, with Chevrolet. And your area Chevy dealers have the ultimate selection in value-packed American cars. Like the sporty Chevy Cavalier, discounted even lower than ever. Plus, right now, you can get $400 cash back direct from Chevrolet. Or catch incredible discounts on the luxurious Celebrity and get $750 cash back. But hurry, these low discounted prices for the $1,000 cash back direct from Chevrolet are for a limited time at your area Chevy dealers.
The weather is getting better, isn't it? Beautiful. High 60s today.
It's on the up and up. 68 degrees. I wouldn't complain about that.
Great.
No.
Ooh, not after we've seen so much cold temperatures across much of the nation. And here we are sitting there in the 60s. Outside right now in San Antonio, the temperatures are still looking fairly warm, but not too warm. It's 45 degrees and the humidity is 43%. Now, it was very dry again this afternoon, just like it was yesterday. But the winds have been calm for much of the day, very light. We have some barometer showing up 30.5 inches, light molds at 80, and also some mountain cedar showed up at 20 per cubic meter. Well, today in San Antonio, as I mentioned before, 68 degrees. It was a beauty of a day, although we had some very cold temperatures this morning, dropping to 24 in our city. And I imagine the northern suburbs have even colder temperatures. Chipper Kurtz, our weather watcher up in Kerrville, called in with 14 degrees up there in the Kerrville area, so very cold up there. 60 degrees in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and 52 up here in Amarillo, so it's fairly cool in the northern parts of the state. But look at Marfa, 10 degrees for the morning low this morning. And Kingsville had the state's highest temperature today with 73. Allison, those spots were a little bit close behind there with 72. As we look at what's happening right now in the satellite picture, though, it's clear skies again, just a few little coastal clouds. Otherwise, there's really nothing that seems to be coming our way. Temperatures currently sitting here in the middle 40s or the lower 50s. Austin, 51 degrees at 10 o'clock tonight, and 30 degrees up in Amarillo. Now, the winds are going to gradually be coming from the north tonight. They'll be pulling some of this dry and cool air in, so expect another cold night tonight. It is definitely going to be on the cool side. Now, you can see right here in the middle of the nation, there is a little stationary front. Much colder air is right here to the east of this front, and to the west it's a little bit warmer, and a large storm system is coming in. But believe it or not, that storm is not bringing too much in the way of rain. There's a little trough line which is coming through the northeastern part of the country, and that's kicked off a few scattered snow showers. Buffalo, though, in those scattered showers, managed to pick up 8 inches of snow. Now, the snow, even though it looks like it's pretty widespread, is actually pretty light now. Earlier tonight, last night, and the day before, up to 18 inches of snow fell in northern Maine. It was a big snowstorm there. They also had around a foot of snow in southeastern New York State. It was really coming down. As far as the nation's temperatures, though, The nation's lowest was 31 below zero in International Falls. Very cold up there. Long Beach, California with 85. Here's a forecast for us in San Antonio, though. Tonight down to 31 degrees, a light freeze, and clear skies. You will have to take some preparations for your plants, pets, and also the pipes. When you wake up, it'll be light freeze, temperatures in the mid-30s to the mid-40s, very quickly warming up. The high at least 61 degrees. It may even get warmer than that. Fair skies, and the winds are going to be light. Now, Thursday, some clouds in the morning, but partly cloudy in the afternoon. It won't be a disaster of a day. Highs getting up to about 64 degrees. And then Friday, more clouds will be coming in. The temperature still remaining in the 60s, though, and the extended outlook continues to show temperatures in the upper 60s or even by 70 degrees on Saturday. So
wow.
The weekend won't be all that bad.
No, something to look forward to.
It's only Tuesday, and I'm looking forward to the weekend already.
It's pretty bad.
Thanks, John.
See you later. The last belongings of former Governor John Connally and his wife Nellie went on the block today in an auction to raise more money to repay their creditors. Over the weekend, the Connally auction in Houston brought in almost $2.5 million. The Connollys had to part with memories and treasures of a lifetime when they sold their artwork, their china, furniture, saddles, jewelry, and gun collections. Many of their friends, though, not only went to the auction, they purchased some things and gave them back to the Connollys. Connally filed for personal and professional bankruptcy last July.
When SeaWorld opened its job hotline on Monday, it was supposed to stay open until Wednesday, but the phones have been jammed and every one of those 9,000 job interview slots has now been filled. SeaWorld stopped taking the calls at 4 this afternoon. Those interviews, by the way, are going to take place over the next 5 weekends. SeaWorld has 1,000 jobs to fill.
Coming up next in sports, George McKenzie has the highlights from his first game in Dallas.
And there's also plenty of round ball going on right here at home. He'll have the highlights as well.
People have been enjoying authentic Mexican dishes from El Charrito for generations. But this generation wants something different. Authentic enchiladas delightfully low in calories. New El Charrito Light. Put a little spice in your life.
Too bad. A lot of cleaners dry streaked and dull. But Mr. Clean dries so shiny, it looks wet.
It's dry.
So your floor looks shiny wet even when dry.
Family's back home today, so wake 'em up their favorite way. 'Cause there's Folgers to brew, the aroma's calling you. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your car.
Nothing brightens your morning like mountain-grown Folgers. Mountain-grown coffee beans have more enticing aroma and richer flavor than any other kind.
That rich aromatic blend is your best morning friend. Starts you out feeling good. That day goes like it should. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your car.
Speaking for Bluebonnet Motors, the #1 Ford retail truck sales leader is the #1 all-around cowboy champion, Larry Mahan.
The folks at Bluebonnet Motors in New Braunfels sell more retail Ford trucks than any other dealer in Texas. Why? It's their low prices.
Right, Larry. Own this 88 Lariat Super Cab for as low as $10,999 or an 88 Aerostar for only $14,799.
So put your brand on one. They'll do whatever it takes to sell you a truck at Bluebonnet Motors.
Boy, what a night in high school basketball and others.
A couple of incredible stories. I'll get to the high school hoops in a minute. We'll lead off with the Spurs tonight. You know, Spurs have had their problems on the road all season long. Tonight was no different in Dallas. Check the highlights for you. Spurs actually gave us some great highlights, considering they lost by 17 tonight. Take a look at some of the action right here. Alvin Robertson gliding in for a jam for 2 of his 21. Frank Brakowski, nice game. He had 16 tonight, 2 on this shot. Can you believe that shot right there? Shot of the game, though, goes to John Sunvold. It'll come up in a second. Hang with it. Shot of the game, John Sunvold, third quarter. Boom, cuts the Mavericks lead to 10 points after 3. Greg Anderson, dunk of the night off the alley-oop, but Mark Aguirre checked in with 24 for Dallas. 2 on the nice layup right there. Had some pretty assists. Look at this to Roy Tarpley. Mavericks again by 17. Final from Dallas, 128-111. Favor of the Mavericks. Spurs' next game is tomorrow night at the arena. That is against Cleveland. NBA All-Star reserves have been named. Alvin Robertson makes the team for the 3rd straight year. He'll be the only Spur there, however. Others named today, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar making it for the 17th time. Steve Johnson of Portland will also be there. So will X-McDaniel of Seattle, James Worthy, Mark Aguirre, Clyde Drexler, and once again Alvin Robertson. Game will be February 7th in Chicago. Elsewhere in the NBA tonight, Knicks beating the Nets. As we go to the scoreboard, it was a Celts over the Hawks by 5 in a heck of a game. Houston, no sweat with the L.A. Clippers tonight, and it was Indiana by 4 over Chicago, 97-93. Some other games are out on the West Coast in the early stages right now. High school hoops tonight. Let's go to Alamo Stadium Gym, where second-ranked Highlands took on Burbank. Highlands in white, they jump out to a big early lead. Nice turnaround move by number 55, Ollie Stevens. Ray Dominguez with a pretty play for Burbank right there, but the Bulldogs were out-muscled and outclassed by Highlands tonight as the Owls scored 42 straight points in one stretch. They run their record to 24-4 on the season. Final score from Alamo Gym, 88-20, favor of Highlands. Wow, what a game. Two San Antonio area college basketball rivals also in action against each other tonight as Trinity visited Incarnate Word. Trinity coach Dwayne Henry and his Tigers had lost to Incarnate Word earlier in the year, so they're looking for some revenge. Looking good here, too. Doug Hafer all the way for the lay-in as the Tigers took an early 12-10 lead. Crusaders came back with some good ball movement. Trip Poole goes inside to Sean Sullivan for the bucket. Sean had 34 points tonight, bringing some applause from the Incarnate Word fans. They got more to cheer about here as Marcus Best goes to Mike Wilson. Final word from Incarnate Word, 90-72 favor of Incarnate Word. Elsewhere in college basketball tonight, checking the scoreboard, Midwestern over St. Mary's by 3, 84-81 this evening. San Antonio could host the World Cup Soccer Championship in 1994 if we build a stadium. That word from Mayor Henry Cisneros at a news conference today. Now, the purpose of the news conference was to announce a 4-team international tournament here in town in April. But the mayor also used the occasion to point out San Antonio might be able to land the biggest soccer event in the world if we build a stadium.
Without the facility, we're not going to be in the ballgame because 24,000 seats at Alamo Stadium just won't do it.
Meanwhile, Alamo Stadium will be sufficient for the Marlboro Cup soccer tournament. That's one American team from Fort Lauderdale, the Strikers, 2 teams from Mexico, 1 from El Salvador, all together Wednesday, April 6th and Friday, April 8th that will be at Alamo Stadium. Well, heaven forbid that I should go an entire sportscast without mentioning the Super Bowl. I won't disappoint you. This was the infamous media day with hundreds of media people surrounding players from both teams. Game between the Denver Broncos and the Washington Redskins, of course, scheduled for Sunday. Shortly after 5 o'clock will be the kickoff. East Central beating Seguin tonight, 121-71. Seguin with only 3 players on the floor at the end of the game. More on the story tomorrow.
How do they do that?
It's not easy.
Gonna make us wait till tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like a cliffhanger, you know?
Yeah.
Well, other things to get to. Some local entertainers getting together for a good cause.
Yeah, they're hoping their music will turn into money. We'll tell you why. Describe how bad it feels.
I've got a sore nose. It's just the rubbing and the dripping and the sneezing and the wiping and the rubbing and the dripping and the sneezing and the wiping.
Introducing First Aid for your nose when it's sore from too much blowing. New Puffs Plus.
Feels like there may be something in there. There's lotion. I feel it on my fingers. A lotion.
It's the first tissue with moisturizing lotion. New Puffs Plus.
Well, it saved my nose. Puffs Plus is much less irritating than my tissue. I've never had an experience where you blow your nose and it feels so good.
New Puffs Plus.
You've got a sore throat.
Like it's on fire.
And you want the pain to stop.
The faster the better.
That means Chloroseptic. Because only Chloroseptic has the powerful anesthetic phenol that penetrates nerve endings for relief in seconds. Relief so fast, the moment you feel it, we'll stop this commercial.
Kathy Durham looks cool under pressure. But just because her blouse is dry doesn't mean she smells good. Because underarm odor is invisible, she needs Sure Roll-On. Sure helps protect against wetness and kills bacteria that cause odor. So, Kathy, why go to school with a dry blouse and a false sense of security? Tomorrow, use Sure Roll-On and be just as sure about odor as you are about wetness.
Thanks.
When Toyota designed the Supra, they came up with much more than just a car. They created a work of art. And one test drive at your Toyota dealer will turn this work of art into performing art. Because under those exquisite lines is a 3-liter, 24-valve engine that will take you on the ride of your life. 200 horsepower that will give you the thrill of your life. The remarkable Toyota Supra. For the ultimate in quality and performance, see your Toyota dealer today. Who could ask for anything more?
Local Local celebrities sang their hearts out tonight for a very good cause to help raise money for a family whose children were severely burned back in November. An abandoned car they were playing in exploded. Little E.J. Perez Jr. died later of his injuries. His 2-year-old sister, Elena, is still recuperating. Money raised tonight will go towards covering the mounting hospital bills. If you would like to make a donation, a fund has been set up at the San Antonio Credit Union.
John says a light freeze tonight. Other than that, not too bad.
No, got something to look forward to. Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a good night.
Rebates on upholstery?
Yes, rebates up to $500 on upholstery and window treatments, only at Arrow Upholstery.
Incredible. What's the number?
227-5051. Call now.
Pick up Texas Monthly's 15th anniversary collector's issue.
Casual sex turned fatal attraction. To you, it was a one-night stand. To her, it was the love of her life. The victims of real-life fatal attraction.
Wednesday at 9. Jeopardy! Weeknights at 6:30.